Hey, welcome to this introduction on the experiment isopropanol as a solvent. So my hope is that this video will help to clarify maybe some of the finer points in the experiment and the steps that might be a little bit confusing. I have it broken down in different stages, and I hope that'll help you do this experiment effectively. Now, one of the things you're going to want to do as part of your pre-setup here is pre-label out your test tubes and lay them out in your test tube rack. Now, I think I have a luxury because I happen to have 8 test tubes, and I believe you only have 6 test tubes. That's fine. Just do maybe 3 of the substances first, and then you can sort of get those results, and then you could do the last one a little bit. It is helpful to have a test tube which has your isopropyl in it and a test tube which has your water in it that has the same substance. That way you can sort of do an eyeball comparison after you're done with your results. Because what we're trying to do here is determine, do solutes dissolve differently in different solvents, okay? And so part of just my labeling here, I've just sort of used an initials about what the solid are, and I've actually color-coded this because the yellow is my alcohol, and the blue here is my water. You can just go ahead and write WBS if you'd like to, but it's really important here, the labeling, and it's really important that we don't mix this up. All right, so when we are going to be adding our solids and measuring it out, we're going to be measuring about between 0.5 and 0 and 0.55 grams of our solid. Go ahead and use your little airplane folding paper, a weighing paper that you have, place it on your balance, and then remember to hit the tar button, and then that should read it as 0. So it just kind of gently pour it out and go really slowly. What I like to do is just sort of tap it on the top so a little bit comes out at a time, and just pay attention to your balance as you're sort of letting it go out kind of slowly. And there you go, 0.51, that's perfect. So hopefully you folded your weighing paper so it looks kind of like this and makes a nice little funnel for you to go ahead and very carefully pour it into your test tube without any major spilling. And then what I want you to go ahead and do is just sort of shake it a little bit so it settles. And then you can see that line right there. Use a pencil to mark where the solid level is when you just pour it in there all by itself. So as you can see here, I've gone ahead and I've done that with the sugar that I put into my test tube. And I went ahead and used a Sharpie too, just because I had one handy. And you can see the Sharpie really makes it stand out. But a pencil will also work. You can see sort of the charcoal-y color right next to it. And you just want to eyeball what is the amount of the solid that you poured in there to start with. This will be a helpful reference then when we try to determine how much of that solid is actually dissolved. Now you can see here that I've improvised. I actually don't have with me my beaker, but hopefully you do. And I've just happened to use a plastic glass that I have, household glass, and I'll make sure that I wash this out thoroughly. And you want to take one of your pipettes and only use one of the pipettes for water, and then use a second pipette for the alcohol. Go ahead and squeeze all of the air out of your bulb, and then place your pipette, make sure that it's completely submerged in your liquid, and then just release it. And what that'll do is that'll fill your bulb up with a fairly, as long as you're consistently applying the same amount of pressure, it should more or less be very consistent in terms of filling up the bulb with the same amount of liquid. It's about 1.5 milliliters of liquid. And then go ahead and just squirt all of your liquid into your test tube. Then go ahead and place your cap on your test tube. Now, you should be wearing gloves. I happen to not be wearing gloves, but the reason why you should be wearing gloves is because when you shake it, it might leak a little bit up the top. So you might also want to have just a paper towel to just sort of collect any spillages. When you're shaking this, try to hold your hand at the top of the cap like this, and make sure that your hand is well away from your pencil mark. You don't want to obscure that because you're going to need that to make a judgment about how much dissolves. And then you want to go ahead and you're going to shake for about 1 minute. Awesomeness. So I think you're ready now to go ahead and do the experiment on your own. Hopefully you will follow the directions very carefully. Make sure you're wearing all of your safety gear, and good luck. Hope you enjoy it.